democratic values, because we know that democracy and human rights are core elements of any stable and secure region.
Austin adds diplomacy and defense work hand in hand.
また日本は平和安全法制を整備するとともに
I want you to know that we in the Department of Defense stand ever ready to buttress the hard work of our diplomats. Diplomacy and defense complement one another, and together they make us stronger.
Meanwhile, the U.S. Senate has approved Congresswoman Deb Haaland as the Secretary of the Interior. She is the first Native American to serve in a presidential cabinet. The 60-year-old originates from New Mexico's Laguna Pueblo people. Haaland will be responsible for the country's natural resources, oil drilling sites, and tribal lands. Celebrities, environmentalists, and tens of tribal leaders supported her nomination. Homeland Secretary Alejandro N. Mayorkas has directed the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, to support a government-wide effort over the next 3 months to safely receive, shelter, and transfer unaccompanied children who make the dangerous journey to the U.S. southwest border. This is in response to the arrival of record numbers of individuals, including unaccompanied children, at the southwest border. Since April 2020, it has been reported that the number of encounters at the border has been rising due to ongoing violence, natural disasters, food insecurity, and poverty in the Northern Triangle countries of Central America. Later on in the program, Bureau Chief Jane Kathleen Gregorio joins us for more on this story. U.S. President Joe Biden names Gene Sterling, an economist who served as the director of the National Economic Council under both Presidents Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, to oversee the implementation of the American Rescue Plan, Biden's $1.9 trillion stimulus to counteract the economic impacts of COVID-19.
Pleased to announce and introduce another gifted manager to coordinate our implementation of the American Rescue Plan, Gene Sperling. Gene will be on the phone with mayors and governors, red states, blue states, the source of constant communication, a source of guidance and support, and above all, a source of accountability for all of us to get the job done. I learned from my experience implementing the Recovery Act just how important it is to have someone who can manage all the moving parts with efficiency, speed, and integrity, and accountability. That's the sort of management we've seen in our fight against the virus with Jeff Zients, our COVID response coordinator.
Asked whether former President Donald Trump should encourage vaccine skeptics to get the jab, Biden says it's more important for local community leaders to promote vaccines.
Helps promote
And they say the thing that has more impact than anything Trump would say to the MAGA folks is what the local doctor, what the local preachers, what the local people in the community say. So I urge all local docs and ministers and priests to talk about why it's important to get that vaccine, and even after that, until everyone is in fact vaccinated, to wear this mask.
In other news, President Joe Biden visits Smith Flooring, a small minority-owned business in Chester, Pennsylvania, to promote his American Rescue Plan. The package, which Biden signed into law last week, will inject $1.9 trillion in aid into the pandemic-damaged economy by funding small businesses, extending unemployment benefits, and sending direct payments to many Americans. Now, for an update on today's COVID-19 numbers. According to the Coronavirus Resource Center of Johns Hopkins University and Medicine, as of 6 p.m. Eastern Time today, Tuesday, March 16th, the number of cases of COVID-19 reported worldwide is now more than 120,530,000. The top three on the list of countries with the most number of recorded cases are the U.S., with more than 29,542,000, Brazil with more than 11,519,000, and India with more than 11,409,000. Sadly, this virus has now already claimed more than 2,665,000 lives worldwide. The countries with the three most number of COVID-19-related deaths are the U.S. with more than 536,000, Brazil with more than 279,000, and Mexico with more than 194,000. Now, up next, we'll have reports from Edmonton, Alberta, Alexandria, Virginia, and Union Township, New Jersey. Eagle News America will be right back. Stay with us.
Factual.
We have to defeat the virus everywhere.
Timely information. Balanced, not only in the country, but also abroad.
I'm certain of one thing.
Interviews that people need to know. Watch Aguila Pilipinas, a one-hour newscast of reports coming from regional hubs in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Know the important updates in Asia in ASEAN in Focus. Track the latest stories in the provinces in Aguila Provincia. Tune into Mata ng Aguila, the evening primetime news program of Net25. Balanced and objective, Mata ng Aguila covers national and international issues, tackles news on business, health, science and technology, entertainment, sports and human interest features, and current events. And Eagle News International delivers the latest global reports, impartial, accessible, and up-to-date. It brings to fore EBC's rich international scope and access to valuable information streams.
Well, thank you to our help outdoor.
Catch these programs on Net25. You can also watch our news programs through eaglenews.ph and Eagle News Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Welcome back. You're watching Eagle News America. I'm Philip Toledo in Atlanta. Canada's public health officials are voicing concern over a possible third wave caused by COVID-19 variants. In Alberta, Thomas Likeness joins us this evening with the details. Thomas?
Thank you, Philip. Well, just when we thought we were seeing the beginning of the end of this pandemic, just when we thought we saw light at the end of the tunnel, now we're finding out, the light is still there, but we're finding out the tunnel is a whole lot longer than we thought. And we hope we can avoid seeing scenes like these that were commonplace in the last 12 months. Up here in Canada, those dreaded words have finally been uttered: third wave. That pronouncement came from Ontario's Hospital Association in Canada's largest province. On Twitter, the association proclaimed the third wave was the result of COVID variants. They're just spreading like wildfire throughout the population. New cases of the original virus are decreasing, but cases of variants are on the rise. In Ontario, new strains of the virus make up 49% of the new cases, nearly half. Hospital admissions in Ontario, they're up. The vacancy rate in ICUs, that's going down, and that's something the medical community wants to see reversed. The association warns unless people strictly comply with public health measures, hospitals will be overwhelmed. Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. David Williams, admits the province could be headed into a third wave, but how severe will it be? He says that's yet to be determined. Now, earlier today, Premier Doug Ford was asked, did the province lift restrictions too soon? Ford sidestepped that question.
Again, the message to the people, yes, we're seeing the vaccinations roll out. but we can't let our guard down for a second. We have to make sure we social distance, constantly be wearing a mask, follow the protocols of the chief medical officer. We can't let our guard down. So I'd be very, very cautious moving forward.
Ford is in that precarious position of all politicians, trying to balance people's health against the public's cries for fewer restrictions. Not an enviable place to be in. Variants are showing up across the country. Ontario, just the first province to pull the alarm. In Edmonton, Canada, Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Philip.
Thanks, Thomas. Now, I've heard that Canada has changed its recommendation regarding the AstraZeneca vaccine. Is that accurate?
Yeah, we have, and nothing like what they're doing in Europe. You see, we have a couple of different agencies involved in recommendations for immunization up here. One is Health Canada. That would be like your FDA. It approves all medical treatments, drugs, and vaccines. And then we have the National Advisory Committee on Immunization. So when AstraZeneca was first approved, Health Canada said, yeah, use it on anybody over the age of 18. But the Advisory Committee, they said, hey, wait a minute. There's not enough evidence from the clinical studies on the effectiveness of this shot in seniors, so it recommended against using it on anyone over 65. But now today, the committee says real-world evidence. This was the vaccine of choice in the United Kingdom. They're saying real-world evidence demonstrates that this vaccine is effective in the over 65 demographic. And like I said, this morning, they reversed their recommendation. They say it's okay for seniors, but there is a caveat. It says, when possible, use an mRNA vaccine. The AstraZeneca is what's known as a virus vector, but they're saying when possible with seniors, use something like the Pfizer or the Moderna because of it's much more effective. And that makes sense, given that seniors have a higher risk of a poor outcome if they get COVID.
Right. But what about all these reports that are coming out about blood clots and side effects, related with the AstraZeneca vaccine? Has the Canadian government commented on that at all?
Well, yeah, they have. Yesterday, the Prime Minister said, as far as he's concerned, the vaccine is effective and it's safe. He tells Canadians, if it's offered to you, take it. Our Chief Public Health Officer this morning said the same thing. But, with at least 19 countries not using that vaccine right now, people on the street aren't so convinced. They're concerned. There was a poll just done. 1 out of 4 Canadians who were asked have indicated they're going to be shopping around for the vaccine they want. In other words, what they'll do is they'll put off being immunized until they can get the vaccine of their choice. But hopefully the uncertainty over AstraZeneca can be cleared up one way or the other very quickly. Philip?
Absolutely, Thomas. And I know there's a lot of people on this side of the border that are having the same thoughts as well. So
you haven't even approved AstraZeneca down there, but I would imagine, yeah. Actually, I can tell you, I saw that poll. They did an American poll as well, and 1 out of 5 Americans is kind of vaccine shopping. Philip?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight, Thomas. You stay safe.
You too.
In Virginia, the National Guard has launched new mobile vaccination teams as the state ramps up efforts to vaccinate more people against COVID. The story and more from EJ Gonzalez in Alexandria. EJ.
Thanks, Philip. Well, Governor Ralph Northam and his wife Pamela received their COVID vaccines this week. The Virginia First couple opted to go with Johnson & Johnson's one-shot vaccine. The Virginia National Guard administered the vaccination to kick off deployment of mobile vaccination teams for the state. The Virginia National Guard, or VNG, has been supporting state response efforts with logistics and COVID tests since the beginning of the pandemic and now administers vaccinations. 5 mobile vaccination teams consisting of Air and Army National Guard medics will help in the state's vaccination efforts starting this week. According to the VNG, around 325 Virginia National Guard soldiers will be trained by the Virginia Department of Health and are expected to administer up to 250 vaccines per day. They will also continue to conduct COVID-19 testing when needed. The Virginia Department of Health said the Commonwealth is administering almost 53,000 doses per day. There have now been more than 2.7 million doses administered, with over 1 million Virginians fully vaccinated. According to Bloomberg Business, Virginia now ranks 4th among all the states for percent of supply used. The 3 states with higher percentages, however, have a fewer population count. Over 21% of the entire state of Virginia have already received at least 1 dose of the vaccine, which equates to over 1.8 million citizens. At that rate, or at the rate that the state is going, Governor Northam expects Virginia will meet President Joe Biden's goal of expanding vaccination eligibility to all adults by May 1st. Governor Northam spoke on the vaccine's safety and effectiveness and the plans Virginia has to continue scaling up vaccination capacities and supplies each week. Northam says the faster these vaccines get into arms, the faster the pandemic will end. The governor urges all Virginians to make the effort of getting vaccinated when their turn comes. Pre-registration is made available through vaccinate.virginia.gov. In Alexandria, Virginia, EJ Gonzalez, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Philip.
Thanks, EJ. And it's great to hear the efforts that Virginia is making to get more people vaccinated. Is there any word on if you might be in line to receive one?
For me, no, I'm not one of the first responders or anything like that, so I'll have to wait. But my wife did get word from her work, though, that she is eligible. So at least someone from our family will be able to get vaccinated soon.
Absolutely. Now, we can't let you go. We know you're the sports guy. And I'm hearing that the Washington football team is trying to remain competitive in the NFC East. Do you have any updates there?
Yeah, so like how Virginia is ramping up their efforts in getting people vaccinated, the football team is ramping up their efforts to stay competitive. And as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, the Washington football team parted ways with Alex Smith, and since then have signed Taylor Heineke to a 2-year, $4.7 million contract after his performance in the playoffs last season. Well, the football team has now also signed a veteran quarterback as well in Ryan Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick had some magical performances with the Miami Dolphins during his tenure there. But after this signing with Washington, this is Fitzpatrick's 9th team in his 17-year career. He is expected to compete with Heineke for that starting quarterback position, so we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. But Fitzpatrick is known to be a great teammate and a great locker room presence, which are traits that the head coach, Ron Rivera, of the Washington football team raves about. So with another QB signed, all signs point to the ball club in adding some offensive weapons for the ball to be thrown to in the upcoming months. Philip?
Well, thanks so much for that report, EJ. We hope that you're staying safe.
Thanks, you too.
Airport workers and school support staff received their COVID-19 jabs at a vaccination site in Newark as Governor Phil Murphy looks on. Bureau Chief Carlo Valdez in Union Township has all the details. Carlo.
Thanks, Philip. On Tuesday, essential airport workers, school food service workers and cleaners, and public safety workers became eligible to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. Governor Murphy visited the vaccine site in Newark to witness some of the first vaccinations among several airport workers and school support staff. This is part of New Jersey's vaccine eligibility expansion. Those who are eligible now are healthcare workers, first responders, ages 65 and up, pre-K to 12 and support staff, and many more. To find out if you're eligible, you can check covid19.nj.gov/vaccine. And as for coronavirus stats and numbers, New Jersey reports of 3,141 new positive PCR tests, pushing the total to 747,561. Sadly, New Jersey is reporting 41 new confirmed deaths, pushing the total to 21,492 lives lost. In Union Township, New Jersey, Carlo Valdez, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Phil.
Thanks, Carlo. Now, still to come, we'll have updates from our correspondents in Las Vegas, Nevada, Sacramento, California, and Corpus Christi, Texas. Eagle News America will return in just a moment. Stay with us.
Total entertainment. Talagang na-entertain nyo kami. Gustong-gusto ko yung pagkaka-remix nyo ng bawat kanta.
Tama nga ang sinabi ko last
Wala ako
time.
nun.
Mag-isa ka nun, pero napawaw mo kami. Sabi ko, what more kung kasama mo yung kagrupo mo?
This is Tagisan ng Galing Part 2, Dance Edition.
One for the money, two for the show. Okay, all right. Hello, videookers. It's me, Elvis Presley. Este. Marcelito Pomoy. Watch out for our retro episode coming very, very soon. All right.
Yes, that's right. Let's travel down memory lane as we sing and dance to the music of 80s, 60s, and 70s.
Oo naman! At makiblast na from the past, balikan po natin ang mga nakaraang masasayang kantan. Enjoy po ito, promise!
Dito lang sa kantahan at kainan at katuwaan. Roll it to one. Ito ang...
It's Singing Time!
It's Singing Time!
Lunes hanggang Biyernes,
Alas 8 ng gabi.
only here at Net 25!
Start up your weekday mornings with edutainment, news and information kasama ang inyong paboritong Net 25 shows. Samahan ang inyong paboritong morning barkada sa Pambansang Almusal at 5 a.m. Tatalakayin mga pangunahing balita sa pagtutulungan ng Radyo Agila at Net 25. Samahan si Weng de la Fuente sa Balitalakayan, 7 a.m. Saganang Mamamayan at 8 a.m. NHK World at 9 a.m. Eagle News International at 10 a.m. At mga balitang dapat niyong malaman mula sa Agila, Pilipinas at 11 a.m. This is your morning startup every weekday mornings only here on Net 25.
Welcome back. This is Eagle News America. I'm Philip Toledo in Atlanta. Vice President Kamala Harris visits Las Vegas to promote the American Rescue Plan. Bureau Chief Anna Cui joins us tonight with the details. Anna, what can you tell us about her visit?
Thank you, Philip. Yes, just days after President Joe Biden signs the historic $1.9 trillion COVID-19 relief bill, Vice President Kamala Harris and Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff kicked off the Help is Here tour Monday in Las Vegas to talk about the COVID-19 relief, the American Rescue Plan, which has started to provide relief directly to families with $1,400 checks going to, here in Nevada, it's going to be about 2.5 million people. First stop was the UNLV vaccination site where she thanked them for saving lives. And as she posted on her Twitter account, the American Rescue Plan will open more sites like UNLV, get more staff, and increase vaccine supply. And she also visited the Las Vegas Culinary Academy, which provided food to families in need during the pandemic. As a matter of fact, they're continuing to do that, partnering with 3 Squares in Las Vegas. Tourism and hospitality industries are the hardest hit in Nevada. She mentioned in her Twitter that the plan outlines billions of dollars of relief to the state, with more than $1 billion going to the school districts. Overall, the plan provides over $50 billion to help small businesses around the country. Meanwhile, in Clark County, eligibility for the vaccine was recently expanded to frontline supply chain and logistics, including food service and hospitality workers. In addition to individuals who are currently employed, as a matter of fact, we discussed this last week with Thomas, those who are currently unemployed in this group, they were at the disadvantage because they are not able to get vaccinated. Well, recently the Southern Nevada Health District announced that if they were previously employed in those industries, they were furloughed or laid off, they are now able to get the vaccine as long as they show proof of their previous employment. So that's good news. More people eligible to get the COVID-19 vaccine. The health district's largest vaccine sites, located at Cashman Center and the Las Vegas Convention Center, are open Tuesday through Saturday. Cashman Center currently has some same-day appointments available. Lastly, Philip, here are some quick COVID stats. Nevada has administered more than 1 million doses of the COVID-19 vaccine as of Monday, according to CDC. However, the state's dashboard, it only updates every other week, so it's still showing over 958,000 total administered as of Monday. That includes over 614,000 with initial dose administered, equals to 19.5% of the population, and over 344,000 are reported to have complete vaccinations, meaning they've had 2 doses, and that's accounts for about 11% of the population. The positive effects of the vaccine here, Philip, can be seen in our positivity rate, which continues to trend down since the middle of January from over 21% to 5.5% as of Monday. In Las Vegas and Akui, Eagle News, we live in interesting times. Back to you, Philip.
Thanks, Anna. And that's great news when it comes to the positivity rate. I found myself nodding my head along to just hear that's great progress that they're making there. Now, I'm just curious because, we've heard about in other places concerns with vaccines not being used or vaccines going to waste. Is any of that going on there in Nevada?
Yes, Philip, according to the Southern Nevada Health District, there's 51 Moderna and 304 Pfizer doses discarded. But these are like vaccines that have been, thrown away because they were used during training purposes. They've expired or have been contaminated. Philip?
Thanks. And I know that they've increased the capacity for most places there to 50%. Can you describe what it looks like there in Las Vegas, particularly, the famous strip that everybody wants to visit?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we were out in the strip celebrating our wedding anniversary last week.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I would say there's enough traffic there, but it still doesn't compare to the amount of people we're used to seeing walking the strip, especially on a weekend. Weekend here starts, from Thursday through Sunday. And according to the Las Vegas Convention and Visitor Authority, January 2021 visitor volume was about 1.3 million compared to 3.5 million in 2020. So, walking around the different properties, there's quite a few stores and restaurants at the malls inside the hotels that are still closed, some with signs, saying temporarily, and, some unfortunately for good. But, Philip, I got to tell you, the restaurants we visited in the last week were really full. There were hardly any empty tables, so that 50%, based on what, I'm not sure. It actually made me a little nervous, but at the same time, having had my 2 doses of the COVID vaccine gave me a little bit of reassurance. Philip?
Absolutely. I'm guessing maybe those restaurants had another room in the back, maybe that, was empty.
Yes, I'm going to think that.
Right, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight, Anna.
Thank you.
3,000 migrant teenagers are expected to be housed by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, at the Dallas Convention Center in response to the influx of migrant arrivals into the country. In Corpus Christi, Jane Kathleen Gregorio files this report.
Thank you, Philip, and howdy from the Lone Star State. In response to the surge of thousands of unaccompanied minors arriving at the Texas borders, the U.S. government will be utilizing the Kay Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center in Dallas, Texas, normally a venue for concerts and sporting events, to house up to 3,000 migrant teen boys ages 15 to 17, according to a memo acquired by the Associated Press that was sent Monday to Dallas City Council members. The teens will be kept in this facility for 90 days while authorities address increasing overcrowding at other facilities along the U.S.-Mexico border. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, and the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, plan to open the Dallas facility to house the children for up to 90 days, beginning as early as this week, as the soon-to-open site will serve as a decompression center. The Health and Human Services Department are also rapidly searching for other facilities across the country to house immigrant children who are otherwise being held at the Border Patrol, which is only supposed to detain children for no more than 3 days, but have had to hold them longer due to lack of space in the HHS system. Meanwhile, a tent facility run by the Border Patrol in the city of Donna is holding over 1,000 children and teens, some even as young as 4 years old. According to officials, some of the children reported being in packed conditions inside the tent, some sleeping on the floor and unable to shower for more than 5 days. In a statement by Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, FEMA will be directed to manage care for the children crossing the border and has already established one new facility for HHS to shelter 700 children. And over 560 Department of Homeland Security volunteers have already been recruited to assist. Mayorkas stated that the Border Patrol facility is no place for a child. On Tuesday, he issued the following statement: "We are encountering many unaccompanied children at our southwest border every day. A child who is under the age of 18 and not accompanied by their parent or legal guardian is considered under the law to be an unaccompanied child. We are encountering 6- and 7-year-old children, for example, arriving at our border without an adult. They are vulnerable children, and we have ended the prior administration's practice of expelling them." Stay tuned to Eagle News for further updates. In Corpus Christi, Texas, I'm Jane Kathleen Gregorio, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Philip.
Up next, we'll have business news and EBC Sports. Eagle News America will return shortly. Stay with us.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Your weekly dose of entrepreneurial inspiration to update you on the latest developments in the world of business. Get up close and personal with CEOs and thought leaders to help you discover valuable insights, sharpen your instincts for smart decision making with the latest markets and economic trends, disruptive ideas, global innovation, social entrepreneurship, and other leading-edge business ideas. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business, from vision to action.
Mapupuno ng saya, impormasyon at inspirasyon ang hapon mo sa Afternoon Power. Handog sa inyo ng Net25. Sasabay sa inyong tanghalian ang inyong Happy Time Barkada at 12 noon. Alamin ang mga pangyayari sa ASEAN Nations, ASEAN in Focus at 2 p.m. Ang inyong paboritong awit komentaryo kasama si Leo Obligar sa Piskante ng Bayan. At mga balita sa iba't ibang panig ng bansa, hatid sa atin sa Aguila Probinsya. Siksik ang hapon mo mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes, ang inyong Afternoon Power sa Net25.
Tonight's stories from our business desk. Moderna has just announced that its study of COVID-19 vaccination testing for children has begun, plus how the country's economic numbers are in a slump and how they are expected to break out of it. EBC's Bobby Soriano files this report.
Good evening. U.S. markets have closed
Here are your latest business headlines. Pharmaceutical and biotech company Moderna has begun studying its COVID-19 vaccine in children aged 6 months to 11 years as the vaccination campaign now looks to expand beyond adults. The company said in a statement today that the first children have received doses in the study, with the company conducting the study in collaboration with the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases and a division of the Department of Health and Human Services. While the FDA has provided emergency authorization for the use of COVID-19 vaccines prior to completing the studies, the authorization only allows distribution of the vaccines to adults over the age of 18 for the Moderna and Johnson & Johnson vaccines, and adults over the age of 16 for the Pfizer and BioNTech vaccines. CDC data has shown that the virus has not had as severe an impact on young children and teens as it has had with the older population. But it is the hope of drug companies that the results of the study will lead to vaccine authorization for the younger demographic and a shorter timeline for overall population immunity. Turning to economic news, U.S. retail sales and industrial production fell in the month of February, but several factors have analysts expecting a boost for both in the coming months. The U.S. Census Bureau and the Federal Reserve released last month's numbers, showing a 3% decrease in retail and food service sales and a 2.2% decrease in industrial production compared to the month of January. The Federal Reserve did note that the decrease was expected, as February tends to be a slower month for businesses, with the boom from holiday spending winding down and stores preparing for their spring sales. However, the decrease was also exacerbated by the hard-hitting winter storms that forced many retail stores and manufacturing facilities in the Midwest to close down. Still, economists maintain a positive outlook on the upcoming months, with stimulus checks reaching much of the consumer population within the upcoming weeks, and many states pulling back on COVID restrictions as vaccine distribution accelerates throughout the country. U.S. indices were relatively flat today as stocks took a breather from their recent rally, and investors await updated economic projections by Fed officials on Wednesday. Reporting from New York, Bobby Soriano, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Now for basketball news. The NBA G League is a place where basketball players continue to train and develop their skills in hopes of one day playing for the NBA. Two standouts out of the league are Jalen Green and Jeremy Lin. Share their thoughts on what they learned in the G League and what's the next step in their basketball careers. Take a look with Melissa Potes.
Jalen Green's G League career came to a close with a season-high 30 points in Team Ignite's loss to Raptors 905 Tuesday. The Filipino-American guard now prepares for the next chapter of his basketball career, the NBA, and shares what he learned in the Orlando bubble.
I think the biggest thing I've learned is have that next shot, next play mentality. In high school, I get down on myself and frustrated, and it wouldn't be a problem. But out here, you gotta have that next play where people gonna eat you alive. How I'm gonna use it to boost? I'm gonna just take everything I learned here on to the next chapter. I've learned a lot. I got a lot of knowledge from the vets, from the coaches, from playing here, from being off the court. So I'm gonna just take everything and just carry it along with me.
Jeremy Lin's road back to the NBA will now be the guard's focus as the Santa Cruz Warriors' season ended on Tuesday. Lin is humbled to play for an organization with a winning culture.
But the most enjoyable part was just being part of this team. A lot of great guys, a lot of great coaches, a team environment, a team culture, and just a chance to be able to compete and play basketball in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of a lot of stuff going on. We almost forget we're in a bubble where there's COVID testing every single day. And there's food and there's access to so many different things. It's a beautiful place, and we get to just go to the gym and come back and compete and come back. The experience was amazing, and I'm just grateful. I'm just as I sit here, I'm just really grateful, just knowing that I don't want to take these things for granted, and I'm not going to be a professional basketball player for my whole life.
The Lakeland Magic closed the G League with a win over the Delaware Bluecoats, adding another championship to Florida sports teams. In Orlando, Florida, Melissa Potas, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
One of the things that were greatly affected by the pandemic were the Olympic Games. The International Olympic Committee, however, continues their work so that sooner or later, the Olympics can resume. Julianne Evangelista reports on the latest developments with the IOC.
The International Olympic Committee re-elected Thomas Bach as president for a second term. The 67-year-old German and former fencing Olympian thanked his colleagues and the committee for their vote of confidence and trust.
This will be about making the Olympic family, the Olympic community fit for the post-coronavirus world and to address the different trends we can already see. There will be more digitalization. There will be and is a threat to solidarity. We are living in an age of mistrust. We have to continue to address the questions of credibility in the entire Olympic movement. So there are many issues which we can turn into opportunities, because what we have to offer to this post-coronavirus world are our values. And these values in this post-coronavirus world will be very much important for all of us to recover from this crisis.
Thomas Bach. President Bach has won gold with the German foil fencing team at the 1976 Summer Olympic Games in Montreal and has served as IOC president since 2013. His first term will conclude after the Tokyo Olympics this year and will begin his second term immediately after. His second term ends in 2025. In Boston, Julianne Lou Evangelista, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Now, if you tuned into our reports yesterday or maybe have just been following the website of the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control has said that an individual is considered fully vaccinated 2 weeks after receiving the second dose of a 2-dose vaccine, such as the Moderna or Pfizer vaccines, or the first dose of a 1-dose vaccine like the Johnson & Johnson. Now, if hopefully by the end of spring, the majority of the people here in the U.S. have been vaccinated, including those of us here on the show tonight, let's talk about what is on our list of things to do that we haven't done for more than a year. Let's start with EJ in Alexandria. What would you say are your top 3 things that you'd like to do once you get vaccinated and things hopefully get back to a little bit more normal?
Yeah, well, for me, definitely one of the first things that comes to mind is just playing basketball again with, a couple of our good friends. I just miss that, that time to work out and actually work out with people. Because I'm very lazy to work out by myself. So basketball is really the only thing that will get me, up and get the heart rate going. So I think that's probably one of the first things that I'm looking forward to, and definitely beneficial for my health and stuff. But other than that, I think I'm sure everyone would agree to this, is just traveling again. My wife and I, we definitely miss traveling. Going to see new places and eating new food. So that's definitely one of the to-do list. And I think one additional thing is just to see our grandparents again. I miss them so much. It's been a long time since we've seen them in person. And just, seeing a smile on their face would probably help us forget that this pandemic ever happened. So that's definitely the top 3 things that I look forward to if once this pandemic's over and everyone's all vaccinated and things are good again.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, EJ, for that. Thomas, what about you?
Well, first of all, I'll be freed from house arrest. You know, my wife has got me under house arrest. I've become a bit of a hermit. But really what we're looking forward to is maybe dining out once in a while, because it's been a year now. Travel, like EJ said, there's places we'd like to go. She's got some vacation time coming up, and actually we'll probably just spend it in the backyard here because, again, travel's kind of restricted. It's just not recommended at this point. And the other thing is going back to work. Like I said, I've become a bit of a hermit in the last year. It would be just nice to be out in a work environment again where you're seeing people instead of talking to yourself, I guess. Philip?
Absolutely. Anna, what about you there in Las Vegas? I'm sure there's a lot of things. Or actually, are you already at that point, Anna?
Well, yes. As I mentioned earlier, I've gotten it's been 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks since my second dose, and we have gone out to eat because dining out as a family is one of the times that when we spend quality time with each other. So we look forward to that. So yes, I've done that. It would be nice to travel, but I'm with Thomas. I still don't feel it's safe right now. Plus my daughter, she's 18 and she has not been vaccinated yet. So, and one of the things I would like to do is visit friends, have get-togethers, visit the older, family members. Philip.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And the common theme of getting out, going to eat, meeting with people that we haven't seen in a while, all of us, I think we're all sharing similar sentiments there. I know for me, and it'll be several weeks now, I do have my first dose scheduled for tomorrow, as long as I wake up on time. But, once I get there, just, for me personally, I think, similar to everybody else, just being able to, go to the Mexican restaurant down the street and eat chips and salsa, in person, without having to, worry or feel guilty or any of those, range of emotions that I think all of us feel when we go out now. And another thing that's, real big for me and my family is to be able to go to, an in-person worship service and, be able to be in and around our friends and our family. And, especially when it comes to our faith, our friends and family in the faith as well. Because, a lot of what we've been doing, just like, having Eagle News America, where we're all sitting, I don't want to, break the fourth wall of technical things, but we're all sitting on a Zoom here. And it'll be nice to just be able to get out and see people in person. And, if there's anything, that this, the past year has taught all of us is just the importance of that, face-to-face human connection that technology comes close, but, it's definitely, definitely not a replacement for that. So thank you, everyone, for sharing your thoughts with us. We hope that, everything goes well as we march towards the end of this pandemic. But there is a group of people that we never forget to thank, and that is our frontliners, our first responders, healthcare workers, our essential workers, doing everything day in and day out to help us. And they've been working so hard for this past year. So before we go, we want to make sure that we give them a tremendous round of applause. Please join me. Thank you so much. We truly appreciate you for all that you do. And that is it for tonight's Eagle News America. We hope that wherever you are, you're staying safe and well. And thank you so much, as always, for joining us. My name is Philip Toledo. We live in interesting times.
Dito sa